I feel blessed and cursed to be able to deliver this painting to you. If this painting is not going to resonate with you, then I'm genuinely glad for it. It means you have a good life. It means you're able to go out and appreciate the sun, and I would encourage you to do so because you don't know what you have until you lose it. And if this painting does resonate with you, then that's why I'm doing it. So that you know you're not alone. And I'm going to be processing this for you as much as I'm going to be processing this for myself. The energy that I'm going to be painting today is that of lost innocence. Not lost, stolen innocence. And I know that this energy is very delicate and very touchy and very sensitive and very complex. Yeah, very complex. But I'm still going to process it in my own way, my own style, my own capability. Because what I'm seeing from standing in this energy, I like what I see. And I want to share it with you in hope that it might help you. Because I feel like it did help me. And I want to show you how I see things from here. Not just that this energy is so complex in and of itself and we could spend a lifetime talking about it. There are also trillions of ways of how this energy actually physically, technically manifests itself in physical reality. I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm not going to cover most of them. I'm going to be focused on the energy itself rather than specific mechanisms of how this energy comes into play. I will choose one template so that I give you some sort of like a shape in how this energy presents itself for the purpose of making that painting make sense. But I'm not going to go into details of how it happens. I'm aware that you might have had completely different experiences from me. And I can only process this energy from the space where I can process it from. So, I apologize up front if I fail to mention something or if I say something that doesn't sit well with you. Please use your discernment and use your intuition at any given point in time. And thank you for holding space. I have decided to call this painting Stolen Innocence, but this is not how the painting is going to end. Period. I don't know how the painting is going to end. I was thinking about it, and I was trying to find words for how to end this painting and how to name this painting eventually. But I didn't really find words, so maybe you can help me with that. Please leave in the comments your associations and your ideas for how to actually name this painting, because it's not going to be Stolen Innocence in the end. That's how it begins, but that's not how it ends. And by stolen innocence, I don't mean just stolen sexual innocence, although that counts too. And I don't mean just stolen naivety, although that counts too. And I don't mean just stolen childhood, although that counts too. I include also the loss of faith, hope, and trust in humanity. Loss of faith, hope, and trust. That if you have common sense and more than enough of basic human decency, that then everybody else should have the same, right? Especially if you're living it through this belief that if you have any sort of spiritual practice for quite some time, if you're doing inner work, if you're doing shadow work, if you're working on yourself, if you're meditating, whatever, if you're healing yourself, there is this belief that if you're doing it well, then, you know, you increase your frequency and you purify yourself, and then as a consequence or as a reward, you get better experiences and better people around you, and better things happen to you. And I think sometimes that's bullshit. And I think it really stings a lot when you really do heal yourself in order to improve the quality of your life. And then you naturally kind of believe that because you lived already so long on the planet, that all the people you come in contact with since yesterday, they must be on the same page with you. And then you have this open-heartedness and open-mindedness and curiosity and receptivity and allowance to life to show you what it is. And you come at it with this openness of, okay, let's play, I'm here. And then life comes and punches you in your face and breaks your nose, and now you need to have surgery. I'm speaking metaphorically, but you know what I mean. That type of stolen innocence. Yeah. I'm going to start by creating a template of how this energy can present itself. So let's say something happens to you. And let's start from something happens to you. Not for you, not through you, but to you. Something that you never imagined. You never thought about it, you never expected that, not even in your darkest of fantasies, you never expected that something like this could ever happen to you. For example, you get attacked on the street, or you get sexually harassed by a family member, or somebody does something to you, something of high energy, something that isn't just a minor inconvenience you're gonna forget about tomorrow or next week. But something that leaves a mark on you, something that changes you ultimately, profoundly, on a deep level, something that abruptly ends the life as you know it and changes it into something else. Something that changes your reality irreversibly, something that once you go through this, there is no way back. There's no coming back. Something that when you see it, you can't unsee it. Something that leaves a mark on you, let's put it that way. Yeah. So something like this happens to you. And as if that, in and of itself, is not enough of how much you have to carry now. Either that person who does something to you, or if you, for example, have to report something to police, or you say what happened to you to your friends and family or internet, you get a backlash of it's your fault. For example, if you've been attacked on the street, then the response that you might get is, well, what were you doing in the street in the first place? Looking for trouble? You got it, so. Internet would tell you, you create your own reality. So if somebody attacked you, well, that means that you attracted it. It was in your frequency. A mindset coach of some sort might tell you that if something like this happened, then it must mean that somewhere deep down inside you believe that that's what you deserve. So you got what you wanted, and now deal with it. Or people just might not believe you. I'm going to insert my own personal example here. Not that you can be blamed directly of like, it's your fault, you attracted it. But it can be presented to you in a way that it's kind of like, of course this happened to you. I mean, look at yourself. You're so beautiful. You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I've never met anybody like you. You are all that I ever wanted. You are so good, it's bad. So I had to do this to you. Or this had to happen to you. What did you expect? That you can just walk beautifully on the planet and that nothing will ever happen to you? Basically blame being packed into a compliment with words of, yeah, take it as a compliment. I really appreciate it. I really like everything about you. So what else do you want me to say? So it's not about somebody else's inability to control themselves and take responsibility and accountability for their actions. It's about your beauty. It's about the way you dress. It's about the way you feel. It's about the way you are. And there's nobody like you. So, of course, you deserve what you got. And then, as if that's not enough, they could tell you something like, don't you dare talking about it. Do not talk about it. Shut the fuck up. If you speak about it, if you tell anybody about this, if you report this to anybody, there are going to be problems. And you know what? That works. If you exist in some sort of codependent systems, such as family, school, workplace, and you can't just easily remove yourself into a safer environment. If there is any kind of a dependency on the system that you're in, on the environment that you're in, you will likely realize not just that you want to keep quiet because you're weak, because you're afraid, but because reporting whoever did whatever, not just that it might give justice to them and then put them in problems that they deserve, but also that your stability might be compromised, and your well-being might be compromised, and your sanity might be compromised, and your time, space, anything, your safety might be compromised, or safety of other people that might be taken as hostages of the situation in a way. So you take it. You agree that you will not tell anybody about it. And then as a final pillar of the template of how it happens, as if all of that is not heavy enough. Whoever does something to you, once when they do it, they completely disconnect themselves from it, right in front of you, right in front of your eyes. So you can watch them, I don't know, do whatever they did, abuse you, hurt you emotionally, physically, sexually, however it happens. And then you see the shift happening right in front of your eyes, where they completely emotionally disconnect themselves from what they did. And they say it. This didn't happen. And you're there carrying the consequences of their actions, calling them out, pointing at what they did, and they say, no, this didn't happen. It's all in your head. You imagined it. You're overreacting. You're misunderstanding it. And they justify it in a way that it makes sense to them, that has actually nothing to do with how you feel, who you are as a person, where you stand, what's your experience. Completely blocked in their mind. And you see how they convince themselves, and the day after, if you keep seeing that person, you will see them not feeling guilty, not feeling shame and remorse for what they did. You may see them go back to their families, go back to raising their children, go have fun with their friends and family. They go to festivals, they go to parties, they laugh, they have drinks, they travel, they have good life. And you, let me let's Let's take a moment here. Of course, there's shock, initial shock that you have to go through. But soon after that shock, sooner than later, there comes, there comes a big dark cloud over you that starts following you everywhere you go. There are two songs that are in my head about this. One is, of course, You Know It, I Know It, We'll Know It, Till It Happens to You, Lady Gaga. And the other one is Dark Clouds in Your Heaven. That's not the name of the song. The name of the song is Superhero of the Computer Age by In Flames. Dark Clouds in Your Heaven. You know what? When you go through an energy like this, the process of going through an energy like this is not a linear process at all. Not at all. There is no from A to B to C to D, and then you're done. It's pretty much from A to B, from B to A, from A to C, from C to A, from A to B to C to A, and then from A to D, and then from D to A, and then from A to B, and then from B to D, and then from D to B, and then to C, and then to A again. So that's how I'm gonna also talk about this energy, because it's impossible to keep some sort of chronological sense-making of it, because it's too complex. But one thing that really is easy to notice immediately, sooner than later, is this dark cloud that shows up. And it kind of follows you everywhere you go, especially if you still have to function as if nothing happened. So you're still expected to go to school, go to university, go to work, go to wine tasting, go to see your friends, and don't talk about what happened. You're still expected to remain functional. You're still expected to carry out your responsibility. People around you expect you to show up, and not just show up, but be social, deliver results, be productive, be funny, smile, give some energy. But your reality is immediately split in two. And it feels from underneath this dark cloud, it feels almost irreversible. You find yourself carrying something so heavy, so difficult to process, so incomprehensible. One thing I want to say before I continue with this dark cloud energy is that this is just out of my experience, what I've noticed and observed. When somebody fully disconnects himself from what they did, and it's, as I said, this is a high energy event, this is not a minor inconvenience. All this high energy, a lot of energy, they cut themselves off from that. For some reason they can do it. And all that energy doesn't just disappear. It lands in the first most available receptive space, which happens to be you. And you end up having not just your part of the experience, not just that you feel the energy of you going through an energy like this, but you also get their portion of energy too. And all of that is your weight all of a sudden. And you're carrying that as you're showing up in school, as you're going through classes, as you're signing up for projects, as you're carrying out the tasks at work, as you're talking to people. And there's like this dark cloud which is above you, and it rains upon you. Feels like, as it feels like it's something that is above you and follows you around, which also you can notice exactly in social settings when you're in a room full of people and everybody are kind of having their own baseline of energy. So they're all having small chats, they're having jokes, they are laughing, they are, having their easy to maintain, easy to bounce off of each other little energies of fun, respect, joy, well-being. And you just can't connect to that. What you are connected to is like a dark pit that opens inside of you and you're falling within. And it feels like there is nothing and no one that can help you and save you from it. It feels never ending. And there's like a really big gap that becomes visible to you from that energy. And that is that you're carrying something so heavy that most of the people you're surrounded with in a room, they will probably go through their entire life never knowing the complexity of the energy that you're embodying within yourself. And they expect you to laugh with them. And you can't tell them, sorry, I can't laugh because this and that. What I found really interesting under this energy, as I was processing it myself, is that I was so consumed. It was like a supermassive black hole that kind of got opened in the chest and consumed all my energy, while I was in a physical reality, in the social setting where I was expected to be functional and social and entertaining and loving and smiling and happy. Okay, well, happy, nobody really expected me to be happy, but they expected me to maintain a baseline of who I am, I guess, which failed to deliver that day. And what I found really interesting is that people noticed. They noticed. But they didn't notice in this, like, what I would call basic human way of understanding that they noticed. They noticed in terms of, hey, you didn't do this correctly, and you're not paying as much attention here, and you didn't do this assignment well, and you are underperforming here, and why are you not smiling? And could you please give a little bit more energy here? Could you please be a little bit more entertaining? Could you please show a little bit more care? Could you be a bit more motivated? Could you be a bit more enthusiastic? Could you do what I say exactly as I say it? There were all kind of requests made for me as I was moving through this energy. And it was as if people really got bothered by my half presence, and they kind of just like wanted to break through to me by pointing out, hey, this is not okay, this is not correct, this could be better, you could be faster, you could be more attentive, you could be more present, you could be more this and more that, and when it comes to awareness, what I've noticed is that there comes an awareness in people. There comes that point where awareness shows up, but not in a way you'd expect. Not in a way of, hey, are you okay? I noticed that something is off. Can I help you somehow? Like, what's going on? Like, can you tell me? Not in that way, but rather in a way of people noticing that they've been giving me so many warnings and so many instructions and so many corrections that it started making them feel bad about themselves. So they come to me telling, You know what? I told you to do so many things and you failed to deliver everything. I feel that you silently hate me and judge me because I'm demanding so much of you, but I really just want the best for you and from you. And it would really help me if you would do what I say, because then I wouldn't feel so bad about myself, because I really care about what you think about me, and I don't want you to think that I'm a bad person, because I really just want the best. That's what I got. And then I'm seeing this person really being tortured with how much they care about how much I think about them, while in my reality, my opinion of them seems like a luxury that I can't afford right now, because I'm processing this while struggling to being fully present and attentive in physical reality. And I would love to do everything what they say and everything what they want, but this is taking all the energy, and it's really not about them, but they don't know that. So there were moments when I stood in front of the people, not just one person, but multiple people who would come with, like, you know, their way of interpreting that something's off. And I would stand in front of them and I would open my eyes and I would open my heart and I would give them clues. I wouldn't speak explicitly what happened, but I would tell them, look, I'm going through something. Something happened and I'm processing it, and it's really not easy for me. And I feel like there is a black cloud over me and I really don't feel good, and it follows me everywhere I go, and I'm really trying hard to be present. But as much as I'm trying to be present, that much I'm struggling with something, and I wish I could tell you, but I can't. And then I expected that people will get it. And nobody did. Nobody did. Either they made it about themselves, or if they did make it about me, or the closest that I got to the understanding of what actually happened was, oh, the black cloud, the dark cloud, yeah, I know, we all have it. PMS, right? Yeah, I know it. And you know, I had those really hopeful moments. Some people really love to look into your eyes, you know. Sometimes I would find myself standing in front of somebody and look straight into their eyes and really hope and really long for them knowing what's in my aura, what's in my field. I really wanted, and as I was moving through this energy, I really wanted that somebody could see what happened without me explaining anything, and that somebody could hear me out without me saying anything, and that somebody could really pick up exactly what happened without me giving any clue, because a part of me was still very loyal to the ultimatum that I received, and that is, don't talk. But I really wish that somebody could pick up the weight off of me and make it easier for me. I really wanted to feel seen, understood, held, supported, relieved. I really hardcore wanted that. And nobody was able to meet me there, which makes this dark cloud utterly lonely experience, where you really see that most of the people can't meet you there. Probably, you may even be thinking, nobody can meet you there, and you're just left alone underneath for who knows how long. But you know what I found really fascinating about this energy is that as much as I really longed for somebody else to see me carrying this energy, in that moment, as I was face to face with people who had no capacity to really meet this energy for what it is, in that moment I was also seeing how all other people from across time and space of my life who've been carrying exactly that energy. Starting from people that are currently in my physical proximity closest to me. I have recognized people who, if I would tell them about this, they would confirm. And then suddenly, one by one, people started appearing in my energy field. People from all over the space. People I haven't been thinking about for 25 years. People that I'm still impressed to know that I remember their name, even if I never think about them. Kids from school. Those that were bullied for being shy and quiet and socially incompetent. People from high school, people from university, people from previous workspaces, people from parties, people from all over the place who were physically present but a little bit tucked away. There but not there. And as they reintroduced themselves with their faces that I was able to see clear as day and remember their names, and I was able to see how even me, back then, 10, 15, 25 years ago, I didn't see, I didn't understand, I didn't even assume what they were going through. And I remember how difficult it was for me to comprehend, why is that one girl not showing up for the project that is so important to everybody? And why do I have to take her assignment? And why, if when she appears in school again, like, why is she not explaining anything? Why is she not apologizing? Why is she there but not there? Why is she making no effort? Why is she like that? And it makes me disgusted a little bit. To be a member of human race on the planet and see the human inability to genuinely, deeply, open-heartedly look at somebody else and see where they're at. Even if they tell you semi-explicitly, I'm going through something happened, I cannot tell you, but there's a dark cloud, I don't feel good, I'm struggling to be present right now. And it's not about what people say. The energy is there, available to be seen. And we humans, we don't see shit. We only see what we want to see. All of us. Or at least most of us. It angers me. I'm disgusted. I spoke about this in some other video, I don't know which one, that I assume that we humans are going to go towards that part of evolution where we can just clearly look into another being and see what's there in their field without them needing to explain anything. But you know, when you're under this energy and you experience reality from the point of you're carrying this, you're telling people like, hey, I'm not okay. And you're so unseen. That future reality ends up being a hope. Not something that you're convinced that this is where we're moving towards. It is very true that until this happens to you, you don't know. Going back to the Lady Gaga song. Because before this happens to you, you might listen to Abraham Hicks, and Abraham will explain that, you know, it happens to you because it's in your frequency, it's your vibration, you attracted it, so, you know, you're always accountable. You create your own reality, so whatever happens to you, it's just a direct reflection of you. And, you know, it kind of, logically, it could make sense. You know, you can connect the dots, and then when you see somebody else going through some shit, you'll be like, yeah, well, you created your life, so why should I feel sorry for you, right? Makes it easy for you. You don't have to be responsible for anything or anybody. Everybody should be responsible for themselves, and let's talk about something else. But then as this happens to you, you come into this, as I said, this cloud of what is your energy and what is their energy, and you everything is mixed together, and you feel disempowered and defeated and victimized, and it's not fair, and you feel angry and sad and disappointed in life, and you feel ashamed and humiliated and guilty and responsible, and you look at yourself and you be like, how did I attract this? How did I create this? And you start blaming yourself under I'm taking accountability, and then this accountability it feels like you're turning against yourself, and you're putting even more weight on yourself on top of all the weight that you're already carrying, and it just feels like entering hell inside of you under the premise of I'm healing. And this is why I'm starting it with, you gotta see it as it happens to you first. Not for you, not through you. You get there eventually. But first and foremost, it happens to you. Just so that you can separate and sort things out for yourself. And I'm gonna break it to you if you haven't been in this point yet already. I'm not gonna waste too much time. But there is a separation between what's yours and what isn't. It helps to know yourself. And if you don't really know yourself, then you get kind of, everything gets blurred here. But yeah, as I said, I'm not gonna waste time. Guilt and shame and humiliation and defeat and powerlessness and minimization and guilt, shame, defeat. Yeah, wait a second, what else was there? Yeah, guilt, shame, defeat, humiliation. Those are not your things. Stop it, drop it immediately if you haven't already. Fuck that. That belongs to whoever did whatever they did to you. What is yours is your anger, your bitterness, your sadness, your disappointment, your grief. Those are your things. You get to be responsible for managing those. But feeling ashamed and guilty for something that happened to you, no. That's their part of the cloud. And I know that there might be different opinions about this, but this is just how I pictured all that energy for myself. This whole energy that gets available to you after an event like this, when one person completely disconnects itself from it, you take it, you grab it, and you bath in it, and then you one day you feel, or one moment you feel angry, another moment you feel sad, and then another moment you feel disappointed, and you're grieving that it shouldn't have happened, it couldn't have happened, it could have been something else and it wasn't, and then you feel humiliated and you feel ashamed and you want to talk about it, but then you don't want to hear another I told you so, or you don't want to hear another, well, you attracted it kind of a thing, so you keep it to yourself, and then it's heavy, and then you feel burdened, and then you feel exhausted, and then in another moment you're questioning yourself, were you overreacting really, or did you just imagine this, or is there another way? And then for a second you're fine, you're like, okay, I'm over it, and then in the next moment you're back angry, and then you're going through it all the time. And while feeling humiliated and defeated and minimized and misunderstood and projected on and mistreated and abused and tortured and victimized or whatever, and if you feel how unfair it is that something like this happened to you, simultaneously while holding all this energy and having all your hands full with this energy, you're expecting this other person to start feeling self-aware. You expect them to take accountability for their actions. You expect them to suddenly call you and be like, hey, been thinking about you. Sorry. Didn't mean to. And you're expecting, and they don't do it. And you're like, why don't they do it? And then you start finding reasoning for them, that they are this and that person. They're that kind of a person. Or you even go back and forth between they're a bad person, oh no, they're a bad person because this and that happened to them, and then you start healing them instead of taking responsibility for your shit. Ugh. What I found helpful, in a way I pictured it, is that you can't expect that this other person is gonna feel any of those feelings that you wish them to feel, as long as you are taking their feelings as yours. That's what I mean as sorting through what's yours and what isn't. You need to know who you are, what you feel, what you think, what is your responsibility as an aftermath of this, but you also need to know what is theirs. And do not volunteer your presence for their emotions. That means you don't feel guilty for what happened to you if it's their fault. Let that guilt go back where it should go. And then as you do that, it happens quite organically. I need some red. It happens quite organically as you sort all of this shit out into what's yours and what's not yours. And you know what? It really helps, and I think it's mandatory. And I think like it becomes clearer, like if you go through situations like this through a lifetime again and again and again, it becomes clearer like what is actually your job versus what isn't. And what isn't your job is to understand them and to heal them and to take care of them. That's their job. Your job is to do you, first and foremost. And you have to do that. You have to do this job. You can't opt out. For whatever reason, they can disconnect themselves for a while, but you can't. You have to process this. You can't suppress that, because if you suppress all of this, it's going to follow you around. It's going to happen again and again and again. It's going to keep happening until you unpack this in the way that I'm doing this right here, right now, with you, for you. And as you do that, organically, sooner or later, sometime, I don't know when, maybe after a day or two, maybe after 2 years, I don't know, it doesn't matter. There should be no limits on how long it takes. But organically you come to the point of asking yourself a question, and I think this is a really important question to ask yourself. What energy were you embodying, exercising, holding in your frequency, in your field? What were you entertaining with your mind, with your emotions, with your identity on the day when shit happened? And not just on that day, because if you honestly assess that day and you look into your own energy, you can also see that that energy, or that combination of energy, wasn't there only on that day. It's been there for quite some time, perhaps days or weeks or even months or even years, I don't know. And when you zoom out a little bit and you can see how there was an energy that day that was very dominant in your vibration, you can also see how this energy was happening for quite some time. And you can also see how perhaps even before the shit happens, everything that's been going on in your life through this energy was kind of leading towards that shit to happen. And you can also see how perhaps there were warning signs on the path that were warning you, like, hey, this is your energy, this is your vibration, just letting you know what's happening. But you couldn't see them for the warning signs that there were in that moment. But when you zoom out enough, you can see how it's been in making for quite some time. And you had chances to opt out. But now I'm seeing like 2 different parallel realities happening for different people. So it could have been that you had the energy that was leading towards shit happening, but you also had other responsibilities. Maybe you felt like shit and you were like, yeah, I feel like shit, but I still have to go to work, so I'm just going to focus on work. And then this energy was kind of engineering a reality in the background. Or there could be another opportunity, another possibility, and that is that you were aware of the energy that you were carrying, and you were perhaps doing everything that was in your control and your power to get yourself out of that energy, because you were like, yeah, I do not agree with this, I don't want to embody this energy. And so you try to take it out through doing sports or taking yourself places or like going to therapy, going to breath work, going to, I don't know, like talking to friends or doing whatever. But whatever you did, it kind of just, that energy did not leave you for some reason until eventually it exploded through whatever the fuck happened. And as it exploded in that way, it got amplified to the point where you can't ignore it anymore. And not just that it got amplified, it also got extracted. Previously, it was your internal experience. Let me give you an example. I can link here the previous painting that I've done, that of, what's the name of the painting? Painting of repeated disappointments. Let's say something doesn't work out for an extended period of time and you enter this life chapter where like everything you try just doesn't work, and you know that that's not part of your identity, that's not in alignment with who you are and the truth of your being, but for some reason it impacts you. You know, let's say you feel defeated by life with whatever you're doing or everything you're doing, and it starts impacting you. And you start moving through reality impacted. You start making choices and decisions from the space of being impacted. And you're aware of it. And you're like, yeah, I know that I'm impacted, but I can't I can't unimpact myself to make better choices. So I am where I am, and I'm going to take it from here. And it seems like a valid point of living and making choices and decisions. Like, yeah, okay, fine. And so let's say the energy that we're talking about is that of feeling defeated by life. And then you find yourself being on the street that one day when somebody comes, attacks you and defeats you. And now it's not just your internal experience of life. It's not just something that is your way of seeing things. It's not just your energy that you're seeing through. It's something that is out there, observable to other people as well. Police can see it. That person who attacked you can see it. It's something that you can make a file report. How do you say that? It's something that is there, observable. It's outside of you. So try to see it that way. Whatever the fuck happened to you, try to see it as something that got extracted out of you. I get that seeing it as extraction is for you if you have previously been aware of that energy and you've been trying to extract it by yourself, but you couldn't do it on your own. Like there had to be something or somebody else who can kind of take that energy out of you. And it's amplified for those who completely ignored it, who are like, yeah, it's there, but I'm not going to deal with it because I have other things to do. Or I'm not going to deal with it because I don't want to. Or I'm not going to deal with it because it's uncomfortable. For them, it's amplified. For those who are conscious of it and willing to get out of it, for them, it's extracted. And as it is extracted, you get a choice. Do you want to keep building your life around it, around what happened? Do you want to keep building yourself around what happened? And some people do. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. There is always a reason why people have to do what they have to do. Like spend lifetime proving how wronged they were or how hurt they were. Or spend a lifetime building the identity of another person as a bad person. Or use all of their creative power to keep recreating that thing that happened as something that is now part of their identity. And they organize their entire reality around it. It's a choice. Once when you see that it's externalized, it's a choice. But you can also remove yourself for a second. And it kind of comes in tandem with this energy of sorting things out, of what's yours and what's not yours. And that is this ability to recognize that you as life, or whatever truth you believe about yourself, that you're a child of God, that you are a limitless life force, that you are source energy, that you are a soul, that you're a spirit, that you are whatever you believe for yourself. That you as life are way much more than what happened to you. And you see that that event is just an event, like any other event that happened to you. It's just painted like this. And as you enter that field of realizing that you are way much more than what happened to you, and that you are not what happened to you, and that there is way much more life to be lived than organizing itself around what happened. All that life, all that energy that got kind of, that you were trapped in this like one reality of this under dark cloud, all that energy gets kind of filtered through. You can see it as this like ray of light going through a triangle, and then suddenly there is a rainbow on the other side. That's kind of how it feels. All that energy turns into vitality, into forward movement. And I'm not gonna lie, it feels euphoric. It feels really good. It feels really good because, and it makes no sense to the mind, and this is why mind likes to go back into like, no, this can't be real, because some shit can happen to you, and you go through this alchemical process of like finding your center, finding your highest truth, aligning to your soul, so to say, and it feels so good, and it feels so euphoric, and it feels so charged with life. It feels so, feels like you're reborn again, like you feel so much power again. You have willingness to live, and you have love for life again, and it feels amazing, and you're shining, and everybody can notice that. And you go out and you have fun with friends, and they'd be like, what happened to you? Like, you look so good. And you're like, oh, don't know, I was, sexually harassed last weekend. Or whatever happened to you. I don't know, like, it's ridiculous. Like, can you imagine this? Like, you're shining, you're having the time of your life, you feel really good, you feel good in your skin, you feel held by the present moment, you enjoy yourself, you attract so many people who are like noticing you, and they want to connect with your energy, and then they ask you like, how do you feel so amazing? And you have to tell them like, oh yeah, I got mugged on the street last week. But I realized that that's what was needed for my soul's expansion. And now, from that space, you see how ridiculous that sounds? But from that space, you start being grateful for your challenges. You don't see this as something that has power over you. It doesn't own you anymore. It's like you own it. It feels beautiful. And it's really, like, you notice that really whatever happened, no matter how ugly, it happened for the benefit of your soul. It happened for your expansion. It happened to show you that you are way much more, and there is way much more to life than this. It happened so that you become aware that you control your attention. You control where you place your energy. And I would love to tell you that that was the whole point. And I would love to tell you that this is the end of the painting. And I would love to tell you that this is how you heal yourself. So if you haven't done that, this is how you do it. And the end of the video. But this is not the end. It's not. I wish it is, but it's not. Because you enter this new field, you enter this new energy. Reality starts reorganizing itself. This is what I mean. It's not that like suddenly like things work out that didn't work out before. It's more so that you don't feel like the same person you were up until the attack or whatever the fuck happened here. You don't spend your time in the same way. You don't entertain yourself. You don't place into your mind shit that previously you've been kind of, like mindlessly consuming. You become a little bit more aware of what is in your field. You perhaps eat differently. Your posture changes. You spend your time differently. Perhaps you're a little bit more aware of your surroundings. Your spatial awareness changes a little bit. As I said, like your posture changes. You feel differently in your skin. You feel more comfortable in your skin. Maybe you love yourself a little bit more. And it requires you to do things differently than you did before. It's a good place to be. And you feel like a winner. You feel untouchable. You feel unstoppable. And it lasts for a day or two, maybe a week or two. I don't know how long it lasts, but eventually you go back under the black or dark cloud. It finds you unexpectedly. It really depends on how well calibrated you are to this higher frequency, this new version of reality that you can enter now. But you revert back to the dark cloud. Maybe it happens randomly in the middle of the day. Maybe you wake up one day and you suddenly feel empty and you don't know why you're still here. And you remember what you learned. You remember where you've been. You remember how great you felt. And you are not alone. Like, there are people around you noticing and being like, damn, girl, what happened to you? Like, tell me, what did you do? You felt great. It wasn't an illusion. You didn't imagine it. But now you feel like shit again. And now you have to go function in the world from the space of under the black cloud. And then you have to consciously reposition your attention into where you know that your soul needs you to be for its own expansion. It's a conscious choice you have to do. It's a practice you have to commit yourself to. And then you make it again. And then you remind yourself and you'll be like, okay, well, that was just a glitch. And then you feel again, you feel great. But then you feel back down maybe a few hours later, and then you go back and forth. And as you're going back and forth, like, your view of the situation drastically changes. So if you're under the cloud, you see that's a bad person and there are more shit going to happen. As I said in the previous painting, you start doing the mindset work from underneath this black cloud. And you make verdicts on what the world is, what you are, what your life is, how things don't work or work. Like, if a man did something, you start hating all men. If a woman did something to you, you start hating all women. And it's a really dark place to be, and you don't feel safe, and you feel threatened, and you're kind of mentally preparing yourself for most of the, like, all of the worst case scenarios that your brain could possibly fabricate from that space of being, and you're constantly on guard, and your heart is closed, and you feel like you need to protect yourself, and you can't fully be present because you have to process all of this. And then when you're in this new state of being, you suddenly have compassion for this person who did whatever the fuck they did to you. You have empathy. You see them, you see the humanity inside of them, just like you see the divinity inside of yourself. You see the divinity inside of themselves, just like you see the humanity inside of you. Suddenly you don't see them as something that is out there to get you. Your heart is open again. Your mind is open again. You're not afraid. You're not preparing for what happens next week if you see this person again. You're right here in the present moment. You're enjoying yourself. You feel safe. You feel safe within yourself. You feel safe in your environment. And that safety is very much internal, but also feels very much above time and space and anything that could possibly happen. It kind of comes with those balls of like, yeah, bring it, life. Like, I know I'll be fine. And just like in the previous painting, I have used the analogy of Mount Everest and climbing it. You know, like, when you go to the top, you don't go from base camp to the top, or from wherever on the planet you are to the top directly. you have to go up and down and up and down and up and down and spend, I don't know, like a month, if not even longer, to acclimate your body to the altitude, to get used to the higher altitude. Yeah, I think that's the word. Of the mountain. You don't go directly because that would kill you. So you have to go up and down and up and down and up and down. And the same thing happens here. You fluctuate. You wobble. And it helps to know that, because otherwise you hate yourself. Otherwise you blame yourself. Otherwise you're ashamed of the lack of progress. And as I said, like, it's not from A to B and from B to C and from C to D. It's all over the map. You go from A to B to C to D, from to A and then to C and then to B and then to D and then to A, and it's all over the place, and that's part of the process. That's part of the process. But as you move through it, it becomes also easier and easier to revert into this space where you're safe again, and you're open-hearted again, and you're not owned by whatever happened to you. In fact, you see how exactly that would happen in exactly that particular way is exactly what you needed in order to access this space. And perhaps then you can also remember how maybe sometime in the past you also wanted and you intended and you wished for yourself to enter that space of awareness and that space of being and that particular combination of habits that kind of construct your reality now, that previously you were like, oh, I wish I could, I don't know, sit in peace for 2 hours a day. But previously you couldn't have done that because you had this energy that was leading into this shit happening, that was kind of obstructing your ability to be fully present with life. You were present with it. You see what I'm getting at? And as I said, this painting is not gonna end by being called innocence lost or innocence stolen or stolen innocence. It's not, because you might feel that your innocence is stolen while you are under this dark cloud. It feels like a never-ending process. It feels like there is nothing and no one that can save you, nothing and no one that could understand, nothing and no one that could ever change this for the better. You feel utterly alone, and you feel guarded, and you don't want to trust people ever again, and you take that as a learning lesson of like, okay, now I see the world is a bad place and there's no point in anything, so I might as well just hate everything. But as you shift into this other way of being, this other reality, this other space of awareness, it's kind of impossible to remain hardened and guarded. It's not how it works. And it's not that you get stupidly naive again. You don't. But you do get, as I said, love for life and willingness to live, and you do get your openness and curiosity, perhaps even more than you ever had before. I'm not joking when I say you can feel better than ever, to the point where you appreciate having whatever the hell happened as a challenge. You appreciate it because it extracted from you something that was obscuring your vision, something that was stealing your life energy, something that wasn't aligned with the truth of who you are. And it aligned you to exactly where you needed or where you wanted and aimed and intended to be. You start appreciating it and seeing it as a blessing, not just a curse. And that makes life possible again. And yeah, this is the part where I don't know which words to use and I don't know how to call it and how to name it. So help me, please. I don't know how I would say that this painting is called once when you shift into this state of being where you realize how everything happened for a reason. I don't know. Let me know what you think. One thing I forgot to say somewhere is that if there is any task that you need to do internally in the place of this dark cloud, alongside all other tasks in life that you still have to keep doing while going through this experience, going to work, going to university, going to school, pretending that you're a normal person while you don't feel like it. The task is to stabilize yourself in this other field that is definitely available to you, no matter how hard that was. And you have to find for yourself how that stabilization looks like. It might be that you might need to spend some more time alone with yourself. It might be that you need a therapy. It might be that you need a partner. It might be that you need to stop, at least temporarily, at least for as long as you're stabilizing, stop consuming substances, alcohol, coffee, or anything that has an impact on your brain chemicals. Because whatever you consume chemically, it can shift your brain state into something that feels like a black cloud, even if it might have nothing to do with the black cloud. And then you find yourself wondering, why am I feeling like I made no progress? But it's actually not that you made no progress, it's just that your body is more calibrated to those states of being that are not really working in your favor if your goal is to love life again and feel like you're alive again, or at least be able to function normally without always carrying this inside of yourself. It's exhausting. It is truly, deeply exhausting to live with this unprocessed. But yeah, I think I'm gonna finish the painting here. I truly hope it helped you. Thank you for being here. If this resonates with you, I would highly appreciate if you would like, comment, and subscribe, because that would really help the channel. Other than that, if you would like to learn, what do I do? What do I have? If you would like to learn multidimensional intuitive painting, what I do here, I do have a course on my website, so please feel free to check it out. And if you would like me to paint for you, specifically for you, to create that unique experience of somebody painting your energy and then packing it and shipping it to you so you feel so special when you open it and you know that this, whatever has been created only and specifically only for you, and there's no other copy on the planet. That link is also in the description box, so you can check it out. Thank you for all the support, and I habitually prepared myself to turn off the candle that would normally usually be here, but there is like 10,000 degrees today and no need for more fire. So, thank you for being here.